Okay, I'm going to wade into a sensitive topic, but I have to cover this. So, I need you to think of the single worst possible timing for an emergency bathroom break that you can imagine. Go ahead, picture it. Your drive home, your wedding, the middle seat on a Frontier Airlines flight, whatever it is, think of it. Now, multiply that by 30 states and roughly 8,000 Taco Bell customers, and you are roughly caught up on this story. Because there is that nationwide outbreak of Cyclospora, which the CDC, in its clinical language, describes as causing, quote, frequent and sometimes explosive bowel movements. It's not me being crude. That is the federal government's actual medical terminology. I didn't write it. The CDC did. I'm just reading it into the record. But for the record, I will repeat that I love that the CDC gives me the excuse to say explosive bowel movements. The source of this outbreak, shredded lettuce, allegedly from a company called Taylor Farms, which does happen to be served at Taco Bell, and it is also sitting in many people's fridges right now. Over 1,600 are confirmed sick, 140 hospitalized, more than 5,000 additional cases under investigation. You've got food safety lawyers are saying that this is bigger than anything they've ever handled, at least in the last 20 years. And look, we have all been in that Taco Bell drive-thru. I've mentioned it before, making decisions at midnight we knew were wrong when we made them. So don't act like you don't do this, because I know it's not just me. We've been over this. It's definitely not me. Because look, if you've never sobbed into a Mexican pizza box in the small hours of the morning, then you're either lying or you're missing out. But in this case, you are supposed to be betting against the Taco Bell beef, not the lettuce. The beef, that was the joke forever. That was the sin. The lettuce was supposed to be the responsible choice. The lettuce was your penance. And on Friday, the FDA says that Taylor Farms lettuce had a sample tested that came back positive for this parasite. Yet on Sunday, they walked it back saying it was a false positive. Taylor Farms claims that the FDA apologized for this, but the FDA says they never actually apologized. So now, with public health in the balance, you have two institutions publicly arguing over whether or not an apology occurred over lettuce that makes you test the limits of your indoor plumbing like an episode of Mythbusters. Anyway, I want to follow the timeline because somebody here is hoping you get some dates confused. Thursday, July 16th, Taylor Farms executives sit down with the White House and FDA officials. Friday the 17th, the company issues a recall. Monday, the positive test result mysteriously becomes a false positive. Funny how fast that government science can move, because once the company under investigation gets a meeting at the White House, things change. And it's not their first time at the table. Taylor Fresh Foods gave a full $1 million to MAGA back in March of last year, and that money went to MAGA Inc. That donation landed less than a week, 1 week, after the FDA delayed a food traceability rule that would have made outbreaks like this easier to trace. Taylor Foods CEO Bruce Taylor personally kicked in another $400,000 across several Republican PACs, including $100,000 straight to the NRSC. Of course, just for good measure, then they hired a White House official, a former one, to lobby for them. Look, I think the first thing that should come out of an investigation is an immediate financial disclosure for anyone that might have oversight. Because right now, a company that donates can essentially have their friends grade their homework. And nothing stops it. Absolutely nothing. So tell me in the comments what you do about that. And back to the story, because when somebody online pointed out the donations and the timeline, the actual Department of Health and Human Services, a federal agency, responded on Elon Musk's X with, quote, "This is how the fake news works. Imply collusion, ignore the facts." Yep, your HHS, with your tax dollars, is essentially doing crisis PR for lettuce because they donated. So let's look at how that works, all right? You donate $1 million, you get a White House meeting during an active outbreak investigation into your own product. You watch the findings against your product quietly soften. And when anyone starts to notice, you just scream fake news. And then you go back to step one for the next outbreak. And I want to be clear, there will be another outbreak because this same company was already tied to the onions in the McDonald's E. coli scare, and we have seen, like I mentioned earlier, all of these federal agencies that are in charge of tracking all of our outbreaks have been gutted. And that's why I'm going to ask that you hit this notification bell, because somebody is going to have to keep the receipts while the government is busy tweeting PR tweets about lettuce. But I'm still going to go on my late night Taco Bell runs. Wish me luck.